Hi everybody, I'm Shagun Singhalgar. I'm a motivational speaker, a columnist, and an educationist by profession. It's tough times and challenging times. I'll be more than willing to help you as a motivational speaker. So you can watch me on my Facebook page, Shagun Singhalgar, and let's join hands to actually bring some relief in these stressful times during COVID-19. See you all.
She has brought so much empathy into my life by showcasing a segment of society which is so often ignored, which is the large number. She was telling me it's about more than 7 crore single women in our country. Then we have Deepika. Deepika Jaikishan is from Basis. Basis is an app which helps women take charge of their own finance, their own investments. And Deepika is helping me ensure that my money is safe. We have Manjari ji. Manjari Chandra is a dietitian and a nutritionist. And with her, we will realize how important good food is in these times. We have Shagun. Shagun is an educationist and a motivational speaker, and Shagun will talk about how to keep our kids occupied in these times. And most important, we have Renu ji, Renu Bhardwaj. Renu Bhardwaj is an amazing person. She is an inspiration to me in so many ways. She a little bit. I would like to just say a little bit about her. She is an NCC cadet who has marched down Rajpath in the Republic Day parade as a student. She's been an air hostess with Indian Airlines. She's been an army wife. And now she's the president of Soroptimist, which is an NGO. And from her, I have learned the art of giving. She is such a generous person, and she's always willing to share all her life lessons with all of us. So without much ado now, I would like to move on to the speakers. But before I do that, I'll just say a little bit about the format that we are going to follow. So what we're going to do is we are going to have opening remarks by all the panelists. This will be followed by a question and answer session. The question and answer session will be via chat. So all of you who want to ask any questions to any of the speakers as we go along, please, you'll find a chat option at the bottom of the screen, and you just need to click on that and write your question, and that will come to us, and we'll take them after all the speakers have made their opening remarks. So without any more delay, I will hand over to Ritu. So Ritu, tell us, how has the lockdown affected you, and how have you adapted to life post the lockdown?
So hi Soni, thanks for first of all making me a part of such a wonderful panel. And I truly hope that today I can add value to everyone's life in this difficult situation. So I'll just give a little briefing about how it works. So I am basically running a studio by the name of Ritu, and I am into clinical yoga, Chikitsik yoga. As in, a lot of people come to me with different kind of issues, your back not good, shoulders misbehaving, knees troubling, digestion, hormones, so many issues. So I like to customize asanas for each one to as per their need. First point is always to make them move on from their whatever present situation, and then yes, to actually achieve the true objective of yoga, to at least have them identify the true objective of yoga. So when this lockdown came, so coming to your question, Soni, so it was very evident that the survival now is going to be social distancing. So even before that, we decided to go online at my studio, and because the people who were practicing with me did not want to not exercise. So actually, I've never ever done any kind of advertisement. It has just been a word of mouth. So now with us going online, we could reach more. The access was more. So I had people pouring in from different parts of the country, and outside India also, Sony being one of them. So the response was really appreciated. So naturally, I definitely had to adapt. So I was not meeting my people physically. So I decided to have a lot of play cards, with which I could showcase asanas, try to explain it to them on Zoom classes, how a particular asana or a posture is supposed to be done. Then I started making my own videos and posting them on the WhatsApp for them to understand where the hand is supposed to be, how the back is supposed to behave, what exactly is the position of your feet or the foot in this particular asana. So yes, lot of adaptation happened. And then coming to this novel coronavirus, I could completely identify that the need of the hour was, like they said, that it is attacking your respiratory system and killing your lungs. So nothing works better than a lot of kriyas we have in yoga. A lot of shatkaram we have, like Jalniti, Kapalbhati, which actually help you keep your sinuses very, very clear. A completely pumped up respiratory system was the need of the hour. It helps you stimulate your glands, and actually I introduced lots and lots of kumbhaks. So kumbhaks and bandhs are just basically what actually happens is there are energy blocks in our own self. To release that energy, to open up those energy blocks, I introduced a lot of kumbhaks and a lot of bandhs. And people adapted to it very well. That was very important. I extended my class timings, but I requested everyone that we will not compromise on the breathing, on the pranayama. So pranayama is just exercising my breath. My breath is my weapon. It helps me perform difficult asanas. So if it can help me perform difficult asanas, it will naturally help me sail through difficult situations also in life. That is a clear way how pranayama works. Then how I like to conduct my classes is that I like to explain why. Why are you doing it? What is it going to do to you? I like to have mental involvement of people with themselves. Logic always works. The next issue which was being told all over was that we need to have a very good immunity. So trust me, take my word for it, that nothing works better to pump up your immunity than yoga. So if I have a strong core, simple exercise, flexibility of body is, yes, very good. It gives you a high. But I also, yoga basically also believes in actually pumping up your internal organs. When your digestive system is being worked upon, your kidneys, your livers, your intestine, a happy core, a happy kind of inside. So if my core is strong, it is definitely going to manifest on the outside. That's one second point I could take from here. So we do asanas which actually make you build up and move towards a stronger immunity. The next challenge was the stress which this coronavirus got. As if the whole atmosphere layer is being taken over by stress. There was hopelessness, uncertainty in the whole environment. Everything was like, nobody knows. We are cooped up at home, we are lost, we don't know what to do, how to handle. So this is where I stepped up the meditation part. So at a conscious level, all of us are doing so much, we're taking care of our body, but what about the inside? The subconscious level. So that subconscious level needs to be tapped. Let's understand. What is the food? What is the nutrition, nourishment that I'm actually giving to my mind, to my soul? So that is where yoga plays a brilliant role. It can take you beyond things. So meditation, yes, meditation is not rocket science. It's just being with yourself. So like I love to say that it's a relationship you build with your own self, a relationship which you'll never regret. So you can take my word in that. So this relationship is going to actually help you with so much things in life. So meditation is one of dhyana, like you call it in yoga, is one of a very important limb of yoga. Ashtanga yoga, 8 limbs of yoga. So you reach this level, you actually tap your subconscious level. A lot of chakra awakening was being done, is still being done. The chakra empowerment we are focusing on. So that is one important part of the class. And like I said, people are really adapting to it very well. And like Soni said, there's a lot of negatives around, but how to actually bring in the positive was very important. So if I was to sum up the whole thing, yoga is a science. It's a science for purification of humanity. It's not only just to help me overcome my physical ailments, but to actually have an expanded mind, to break through my mental bondages. We have our own limitations. We are cooped up. We need to break it and expand. I always feel very blessed that I've had amazing yoga gurus, and I now really strive to be one. And I want to impart that true spirit to everybody who's a part of Yoga Ritu. And that is, let's be receptive. Let's be receptive to the abundance of the universe. Let's be receptive of this whole, yoga treats your whole personality, makes you aware. So let's at least be receptive. And that happens.
Yeah.
There is no doubt. Done the right way.
Wonderful. So well put and so true. Everything you have said, you've hit the nail on the head. And thank you so much for that. And coming to Monica now. Monica, tell me, how do you feel, art is, it's considered to be a hobby for the people who have the luxury of time at their hands, and who have it's an upper class thing. It's a very for rich people, for people who have nothing else to do. Chalo art kar liya, painting karte hai. So, but post lockdown, do you feel that the interest in your classes has gone up? Do you agree with the fact that art is only for a certain class of people, or do you think art is meditative? Art is a process of giving peace, inner peace.
See, art is the basic of our life. We should not forget that the human first started drawing before they started even speaking. So we come to know about the ancient civilizations through the drawings they made. So there is nothing elite about art. It's part of our village culture. My mother used to make those big paper baskets, beautiful baskets. So for me, art has been from a very ground level. It has never been elite for me. And when I began, for me, it was a profession because I love painting. I thought this is the best profession I should be in because I cannot do anything which I don't like. But over a period of time, I realized that it has taught me so many things. Like it made my mind so much calm.
I'm on Zoom with some friends.
And my, mental chattering, which is there all the time, it has completely stopped. And it is so funny to tell everybody that for everybody it's a lockdown, and for me there's hardly any change in my life. Rather, it has become more quiet and calm. And I used to think I'm an extrovert, I like socializing, but I'm realizing I'm an introvert actually, because I'm completely enjoying this time. I like that my kids are around, they are studying and I'm painting. And yes, that enthusiasm to learn art has increased. So for me it is good, because finally people are realizing that there is much more to life than just going out and partying and all that stuff. I'm not against that. I love everything about that. But we should be prepared for every kind of situation in our lives, and art is a savior. Like all those people who attended my workshops, or even when I learned art, I realized that it focuses you so much into one thing that we forget for that time that there is any problem going on in our lives. So just imagine living like this continuously. It will completely heal you. For me, it's like I'm a healer also by I do it. So like if I find it difficult to visualize something, I paint it and then I visualize.
You had also shared with me a healing chakra.
Yes.
Something about
it was like we thought that let me do a collective thing, like everybody is healing the world. Like there are too many things. I did environmental science in my post-graduation. So I used to always so much worry about the environment, the earth and all. But this time made me realize that we are nothing. If the earth wants to heal itself, it knows how to do it. So,
and so true, the earth is healing itself. We've got
yes.
so much information coming.
So I thought let us all participate in doing that. So I created this drawing in which we just had to paint showing that we are healing. And a lot of people gave a very positive response to it. They said they really felt something when they were doing it. So I realized that art can be helping us in so many ways. The children can become much more focused if they paint. It sharpens their mind. So it is not for people who they say who are not good in studies may go into art. Rather, it is the other way around. All the top scientists were very good artists also. So I think art is a very, very integral part of our life.
Monica, I think you're going to also do a demo with us.
Yes. So I can begin with that. In the meanwhile, the rest can carry on. And if somebody has a question for me, I'll keep answering in between.
Wonderful. So Monica is going to do a painting for us, which she says is going to be something which sort of has something to do with our webinar today. So let's wait and watch what she comes up with.
So I'll explain the painting after it gets complete. That would, I think, be better. And I start doing that.
Yes, thank you. And now that we've talked about body and soul, what keeps body and soul together is the food that we put into it, which is the fuel, the bit with which we survive, our food. So I'll come to Manjari now. Manjari Chandra is a clinical nutritionist and a diet consultant. So Manjari, tell us, this lockdown is a time when rationing is so critical, where getting fresh food is difficult. So, and plus all the family members in the homes, the demands from every member of the family have gone up. It's a huge stress factor for me especially, this food anxiety ki khana khatam ho jayega, sabzi khatam ho jayegi to kya karenge. So tell us how to keep ourselves well fed without being wasteful in these times.
Hi, Sunny. Thank you for the question. I hope I'm audible. Okay. To start with, thank you for the question. We'll definitely come to that. But let me just give a little bit of a prelude to the entire thing. As we're using, all of us sitting at home, we're still working. We're using this time to do a lot of learning also. We're all learning in the sense that we're able to, join a lot of webinars, a lot of lectures and trainings. In all this process that has happened, for example, I'm doing continuous classes for a lot of Lady Urban College, Amity, wherever there are MSc students and all, and doing online courses for them. So what we've realized is that it's a good time to learn. And and when you say learn, it's not just technical learning. There is also a bit about learning about our food, because of the fact that we were keeping very busy. We had really got caught up with life and we were rushing from one end to another. Touch with food, in the sense that we were eating, we were food and nutrition, but we weren't really realizing the power.
Manjari, I think we are having some
problem with the audio.
Yeah, so I'll move on to the next speaker for now. In the meantime, Manjari, if you could just check with your connectivity. I think it's a connectivity issue. So if you could just check with your bandwidth, and while you're doing that, we'll come back to you. And while you're doing that, we'll move on to Shagun. So Shagun Singhal, she's a young mother. She's an educationist and she's a motivational speaker. All this in this young age, and I am a young mother. I'm not young in age, but I'm a young mother because my daughter is just 9. And these are such trying times for me, I can tell you. So please help me, help us, help everyone with children. Please guide us on how to keep them device free. Impossible at this time, but how to minimize it. Please tell us how to keep our kids occupied now.
Hi, Sony. Just luckily back. I think I lost the internet connection and just got it back. I think net is going to crash soon down if the lockdown extends too long. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So, hi, welcome everybody. I think I'm going to be talking on 3 main specific topics. I'm Shagun Singhal Garg. I'm ex-director Genesis Learning Studios, which is an enrichment center for children. I'm a motivational speaker as well as a life coach. 300 million kids, 1.4 million schools is the figure that I took out. And I think this is quite a number, and the kind of psych impact people must be going through at the moment, both happy and sad. Every house is a school at the moment. Every parent is a teacher, not literally, but actually in the real psychic sense. Now I'm going to talk about impact of lockdown on the psyche of children and how to minimize this impact. And I'm going to be talking about the transformation of yourself to the highest motivated version of yourself. Total cutoff from school space, peers, you're away from your friends, children have left them behind. This was an emotional outlet, a space for them where they were expressing from their heart. Of course, house is a beautiful feeling and the space for children, but they're missing it all nevertheless. How do you get kids to feel the same when they are in your house proximity? 24/7 of news coverage of COVID on the TV, on the radio, on the internet, on the parents, wherever, and all the adults sitting in the house. We all are, of course, end of the day, for the benefit of all, we're all discussing COVID. Can you imagine the impact of these conversations on the psyche of children? Because it's building every day, whether for positive or negative, I don't know. But yes, there is bombarding of COVID as a virus information on the child's side. Their own natural challenges, they all existed. Now you think about the teenagers, their relationships, the love, the friendships, the puberty, all those issues have not ended. The issues are still there. Physical expression of those issues has ended, but the issues still lie somewhere in the psyche. And on top of these issues, now we have another layer of an issue, which is the most major issue, COVID. COVID has not wiped out their natural instincts, the psyche, whatever it was before lockdown has not wiped out. It's still there. So as adults and parents at home, we do need to understand there's those inhibitions, those fear factors, they still exist within the child, and we need to keep them maybe extra happy. Anxiety levels have gone up because we have a list of whole do's and don'ts from morning to evening of constantly washing your hands, do not touch the railing, do not touch the elevator button. And of course, it's for the benefit of the family. It is not for any negative reason. But then again, every power and word, every conversation that we are using does have an impact on the psyche. There was something very interesting, Soni, and all the other panel members, which I'd like to share with you. Wales Online, there was a student who expressed, the school is my space and happy place. And no matter how bad things are, I trust that my school will protect me against all odds, and I'm missing my friends. Of course, this child came from a very troubled family that was quoted in the article. So a lot of houses have happy spaces, a lot of houses have troubled spaces. You know, there are nuclear families, there are children who are single, there are families which are going through financial trouble. And of course, all this makes a part of the conversation at home. Earlier, all this was being absorbed by the child only for about 5 to 6 hours post school. But now the manifestation of these conversations is maybe 3 times the size. 24 hours, the child is definitely listening to all the conversations around our life, our houses, whatever is inbuilt between us. So we are transmitting that energy into our kids. Now solutions, what we come to. How can we actually minimize the impact of this, of all these issues on the psyche of children? Firstly, emotional support, not in the literal sense. Lend your physical self to the child. Maybe just after the seminar, half an hour, let's just sit with our kids and tell them, look, I'm there for you. Let's play a nice board game. How do you feel? Okay, I wanted to ask you, what was the worst part about yesterday? What was the best day? What was the best part about yesterday? Maybe just listening to their feelings and how they've been feeling every single day. Emotional support is something which will actually uplift the child's psyche. You have to be very, very calm in sharing COVID issues and related matters and not over dramatize them, because already there's bombarding of information. And if you're very calm and candid in sharing figures and information about COVID, it is important for children to actually know what is happening, but not all the time and 24 hours, because the lockdown period is going to be long and it might just take on to the side. Full attention and eye-to-eye contact will really help in this scenario, because eye-to-eye contact actually elevates the motivational level of a child, thinking that the parent belongs to me, the parent is listening to me. And unless you divide your attention between digital gadgets and television and your child, the child will always keep feeling that there's nobody who's ready to listen to me, because COVID is a more important personality than me in the house. So it's just a psyche divide, but we need full attention to children. We do not need to dismiss their worries. 50% of factual information by children to us is it's all okay. If 50% of information is being given to us and they're telling us something about COVID or something else which happened in the world, and even if it is not factually right, it's okay to give them a hearing aid and say, oh, I didn't know that, because they need an expression of what they are consuming, and there has to be a consumer. There cannot be an imposer all the time at home. So children will feel wonderful if we absorb from them. And we need to respect their maturity. Even if your kids are 3.5, 4 years old, to whatever age, a child, I was reading that a 4-year-old child is as mature as a grown-up adult in terms of his ability to connect with his environment. So we need to make him feel that, yes, your words are respected and we are listening to you. And our words to them should be wow, wonder words, like you're amazing, you're fantastic, what a wonderful creation. If they've created something, or if they've come out with a baking dish or whatever they're doing, I think to acknowledge their creativity at this point of time is highly important, so that we kind of motivate them from inside, and also let them know that yes, creation is the only way, or creativity, to let you off that boredom phase. And of course, a little bit of pranayam and whole physical exercise is extremely important in this whole scenario. For the older kids, it could be coding or maybe playing a musical instrument. There are lots of apps like Learn Now, Time Space. All these apps are actually helping you learn a skill, and this is all free of cost now. The whole world has got together to make your space within your houses a very creative and a time productive one. So let's make use of it. So many online resources are available. And life is, and sorry,
can I just cut in for a second, Shagun? So what you're saying right now is that despite the earlier, rules that we had about limiting device time, these are times where we have to respect the fact that the kids also need some socialization, and we have to relax the rules regarding device time now. Is that right?
Yes, of course. A lot of digital detoxification, keeping them away. Of course, good movies, documentaries, and all that is good. But that time needs to be taken away from screens to actually honing them to life skills. I think it's a beautiful feeling, a wonderful environment in the house. Like if you, just engage your children in watering of plants. I mean, everybody has some form of plants or the other. So it's an amazing feeling to actually spare water and the whole family is doing it together. Maybe just cleaning the
see life growing actually.
Life growing, cleaning the slabs of your kitchen, just involving laying the table, or maybe just disseminating work, like father's not good at something, disseminating a work to the father, and the child is not good, mother's not good at something, so exchanging works, so the whole family is laughing at each other. There's a joyful environment in the house, but yet at the same time we all are doing things together. That is how you're going to make your whole the whole environment of the house also becomes vibrant for the child. And it's not the end of the world. Your question was very important, very, very valid, because digital detoxing will come with a lot of books, a lot of homework, a lot of worksheets, a lot of things that you do with written paper. Now, when you do all that, don't go crazy finishing worksheets and, all the homework that you're getting from school or from extra classes. I think just enjoy it. You're learning something because you're 24 hours in the house. But even if you don't do it, you can parents can walk up to the teacher and say, my child is low, he's feeling bored. And teachers nowadays are very understanding. They're understanding that there are low psyche levels in kids. So they'll say, okay, give them a break, let them sleep, let them relax, and then they come back to it after a day. So we need to understand that we do not need to bombard our kids with too much. And online Zoom chats are working very, very well with their friends. Once a week, I think connecting your kids with your friends is an excellent idea, where you get their friends online. And if you can have all the friends to connect, I mean, the joy on their faces is enormous. So that kind of leads to endorphins. And my last, but not the least, just the last 2 points, which I just want to mention, is how to keep yourself extremely motivated. And this is mainly for the adults. What you need to do is you must try out the food apps, which are really, really hot this season. I tried out Joy of Baking and Everyday Food, and I'm bringing out a lot of my recipes out of that. And I think it's fantastic when you come up with some recipe in your house for the family and everybody is just enjoying it, which has never been made in the house. So it is like a joyful feeling. So I think one is creating and baking, and the other is, of course, lots of typing opportunities and work online opportunities have been created across the world. This is very, very surprising. Pay per hour, freelancer, all these websites are fully functional for jobs which are online. So if you actually log in and use your days constructively per hour, you can actually work and earn money also simultaneously when the lockdown opens. So it is fantastic. And the most important thing is, of course, if you're very full of expressions, you like reading, writing, and creating a YouTube channel, this is the best time for you to share your skills with the world so that the world benefits from your skills. So since no better a time, I think it can be a very, very constructive period and a motivational period for yourself and for the world. So I think it's very important for the women to keep your mood elevated. If you keep it elevated, your whole family is going to stick around and be happy.
Yes, so true, so true. Wonderful, Shagun. Thank you so much. Manjari, is your audio back now?
Can you please check that?
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So
thank you.
I think we are still having technical problems.
I think the last time there was a little. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we are still having technical problems at your end.
Hi, Sony.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry, Manjari, but we are not able to hear you at all.
Let me try.
Maybe Chavi can go offline with you, and maybe you can sort it out together, and then we can get you back. This is sorry, Manjari.
You're not audible.
Yeah,
It's not audible.
not audible. So Chavi, can you help her on the? Both of you can exit the meeting, and
She can try logging out and logging in once.
yeah, maybe
That's
that. And, now I'll move on to Piyu now. Srimoyi Piyu Kundu, like I mentioned earlier, is an author and an activist for women's single women, spokesperson for all their issues.
I don't think that should be a. I can hear everybody, of course. Yeah.
Manjari now, or are we moving on? I think we'll. Can we try with Manjari once again? Okay, I think we'll move on to Piyu. So Piyu, tell us, you.
Okay, with my video off, will that work? So be okay?
Yes, we can hear you. So I think we can work with that. Yes, Manjari, we can hear you. So you can make your opening comments.
Hi, Sonia. I'm really sorry for this technical glitch, and I hope you can hear me better now.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for the entire thing. Yeah, and sorry for the little bit that happened. Anyways, I of course come from a space of functional nutrition. One thing that we've been doing, nutrition has been a therapeutic clinical space for a very long time. But over years, people have realized that it's no more just a way to treat or no more just a paramedical or a supportive therapy. Nutrition has now become mainline therapy. In fact, now it has been re-christianed as something called functional nutrition, wherein nutrition is used not just to manage, but to reverse cardiometabolic diseases. To give you an example, a lot of children today are, even in India, which did not exist maybe a few years back, are identified with a lot of mental health problems, things like autism, things like dyslexia, ADHD, even degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's did not exist so much in India, but are found more rampant in our population today. And a lot of the reason for this is essentially something called underlying inflammation. And when there is a lot of inflammation in the body, it causes these neurological diseases. And many people do not understand that a child being autistic or an elderly being Parkinson, there is a huge relationship to food. And that is why, whether it is cancer, whether it is cardiometabolic disease, whether it's neurological disorders, food has a big role to play because it can be inflammatory or it can be anti-inflammatory, which means it can either heal your body or it can injure or cause disease or some sort of sickness to your body. Now, having said that and keeping that in pretext, this lockdown period is really a time where we can use to understand our food much better. Most of the time, our relationship with our food has been very cosmetic, in the sense that we know that food is important, nutrition is important, we know what the macro and the micronutrients, but we do not understand the healing property of food, because for us, food is pretty alien. Our children don't recognize vegetables, they don't recognize our pulses and lentils and millets. And if we could get them to value our food and cooking practices and the use of herbs and the use of anti-inflammatory foods in their systems, this is in fact a great opportunity. Like we were discussing, the opportunity of doing art, the opportunity of, playing family games. This is also a great opportunity for your children, now that they have no access to outside food, to understand how well they'll be able to live with food that they can cook themselves. And when they're looking at tenets of cooking, I mean, Shagun also mentioned about online classes with baking and things like that, which is of course a great idea. But I think getting our children to recognize our herbs, do you know, a simple thing like dhania, which we call cilantro in English, can detoxify things like lead and mercury from the body, which not many medications can do. So Indian herbs, Indian spices have a great therapeutic value. And if we could make our children read on to it, get involved with the food, participate in the cooking, also learn the importance of eating less and valuing our food and not doing any wastage and making things from the available resources, it is going to equip them with a lot of lessons going forward in life. Not just about food and nutrition, but also about really understanding the value of food and how to manage with limited resources. In fact, one of the things that we do at home, for example, one of the exercises that we do at home is something called a presentation, where everybody presents one dish. So we have 4 of us, me, my husband, and 2 children, and we do a presentation every day. So we have to come up with something novel, which is the good food, healthy, come up with the nutritional content, and make something interesting out of the available ingredients. And that gives children also an opportunity to explore food. Another important thing is that this is also teaching us the idea of minimalism, which means that, we've always looked at weekends as going out, ordering food, socializing, partying. But this is what is going to take back to our traditional values of minimalism, which is essentially doing with less. And doing with less food, like you were saying, that people are bothered about vegetables getting over, groceries getting over, So how to ration your supplies into a minimalistic space, but still keep yourself nourished. In the treatment of cardiometabolic diseases, we use a concept of intermittent fasting, which is we ask our patients to fast for 14, 16 or more hours, and that allows the body to heal. It improves insulin resistance spaces in the body. It corrects inflammation. It reduces injury in the body. And so the concept of fasting, eating lesser meals, not eating continuously, eating in respectable timings, is also something that can be brought in. For example, because everybody is together, why not let's finish our dinner before the sun sets, because that's what our culture has been teaching us for the longest time. And that is what is scientifically validated also. So I think the lockdown gives us a great opportunity to revisit our food, revisit our nutrition, revisit the eating habits, get back into our cultural recipes and our cultural eating, understand the value of our indigenous foods, our herbs and spices. In fact, we've been doing a lot of webinars and sessions on building up immunity with food. And we know that our only armor against an infectious disease is our innate immunity. And there are significant things that you can do with food to improve your immunity. For example, your immunity is a direct function of your vitamin and mineral status. Zinc, selenium, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin C, they have a major role to play in how well your soldiers of the immune system will function. So if you want them to fight well, you give them enough nutrition via taking these right micronutrients. And then we get down to what are the things that contain these micronutrients. For example, when we talk of zinc, magnesium, and selenium, including nuts, including seeds, including things like small herbs can give us a large amount of these micronutrients. Also, we have been indigenously using a lot of herbs and oils, eucalyptus oil, peppermint oil. All of these things have a psychosomatic effect on our immune system. So getting back to Indian oils, oils which we use for breathing and for also using for massages is also something that we can learn, because that's also nourishing your body. Another thing that we find in our kitchens is herbs like ginger, garlic, dhania, pudina, a lot of green chili, not realizing that all of them have antiviral properties. Something as simple as woolly basil has very strong antiviral properties. So we have the option now of growing herbs in our backyard, getting our children into, growing some lemongrass and some mint and using that to actually make small drinks and little dips at home. And that also not only makes them conscious about the way these ingredients can be used, but also the health benefit of these ingredients can be given to our family in particular, but to our children to be in specific. And if you have elderly people at home, people who are above the age of 55 or 60, and if you also have people who have chronic metabolic diseases, somebody is a renal patient or a diabetic patient or has a liver abscess or any such hormonal imbalances, this is also the time for them to be extremely careful of their food. So whatever they're eating, what they're drinking has to be channelized well. So this is also gives us an opportunity to improve their nutrition profile and in fact make them stronger to fight that disease. So it's a great opportunity. The lockdown, of course, has dulled us in a certain way, but it has given us a lease in the sense it's the time which we can exploit to nutritionally really, enrich our bodies and our lives, and really say no to every disease that really exists around us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manjari. And what you said is so true, that we have to look at the silver lining in the situation right now. And thank you so much for your points right now. I'd like to now come to Srimoy Piyu Kundu, and I've already introduced you, I think, 3 times. So I'll just let you take off directly. On to you, Piyu.
Thank you, Soni. Thank you to the HEAL Foundation. I think one of the reasons I agreed to be a part of this very eminent panel, apart from knowing the work that many of the ladies have achieved and are continuing to do so, and as a learning opportunity, in the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I myself, not being a trained counselor, but having been a journalist for over a decade and also now running the community, the highest number of calls that have come to me are from women who are battling severe mental health breakdowns. And I'm just going to give you a small background. So in 2018, I wrote a book called Status Single, which was my 5th novel. And it was interviews with over 3,500 urban single women in India. And not just unmarried like me, but LGBTQ, disabled, separated, widowed, divorced, abandoned, and differently abled. And since that book, and we traveled to 10 cities with that book, I now run a community.
We are having some technical problem with you also.
And we are actually, okay.
Now you're back.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it better? Yeah. So basically, the community is, we are 74.1 million single women, and actually the highest ever right now in our history. So statistics say that, if India were a country made up only of single women, then we would be the 29th most populous, beating Australia, beating Canada, beating UAE. So I think the community as a whole, Sony, is going through a lot of turbulence, as we all are, as humanity is. But there are certain problems which are very glaring. For instance, financial instability. Most of the women in my community have either come back to a job after a break, with marriage or the dissolution of marriage, abusive marriage, taking care of kids. Some of them have specially able kids. So they've obviously or had a very late marriage. They are adopted mothers. So these women now, a lot of them have already received the pink slip. Some of them are looking at futures where, as independent freelancers or as consultants, they don't know where their next project is going to come from. Bills are pending. And actually, there is no community, which is why this platform of Status Single becomes so important for urban single women. We have, organizations working for rural, single women, for their Aadhaar cards, for their remarriage of widows in Rajasthan, but nothing for urban single women. You'd be surprised to note, and because the HEAL Foundation works with mental health, so many of these women, are used to, going to counselors, for instance, and now everything has suddenly become, online, right? I'm Shrimoy Piu Kundu speaking. I think somebody's asking who's talking. So, yeah. So, so basically, a lot of these women are also looking at a collapse of their, mental equilibrium. A couple of days ago, there was this young woman, and she's a content specialist. She works in Gurgaon, and she has been undergoing treatment for depression. But obviously, in the last 1 month, hasn't been able to get her prescription drugs, and paranoid. Just this feeling of, being alone, being single, complete paranoia. I've fielded calls from women saying, what if I die alone in this house? Who's going to look after my old mother? The mother is also single now because she's a widow, right? And even if these women have siblings who are all married, ultimately the onus of caregiving, the emotional burden, the physical burden, the financial burden, maybe they're getting a little bit of support. Actually, that is coming in from the single woman caregiver. So there's a lot of pressure, Sony. And what I am trying to do through my community is, to have regular Zoom calls. We are trying to invite specialists to the community to talk about how they can get jobs. A lot of the women who are working now, for instance, we are part of this webinar. I'm doing it through my phone. Now, for a lot of single women, there's a lot of pressure on them to constantly come on to Zoom calls. And they just have, one phone in the house, which is their mobile phone. So the child has to do the online classes. The mother's laptop has to be used for her presentations. She's worried that, agar maine nahi kiya, if I don't fulfill the professional demands from me, I'll be handed a pink slip. I will not be given a promotion. So I think, we are a very, very vulnerable community. And the fact that, we are such a big community, I think somebody is asking how they can join. So please get in touch with me on Facebook. I'm as my name, Shrimoy Piu Kundu. And once you do that, I will add you to the community and to our WhatsApp group. And I think, Sony, it's so important that thanks to efforts by the HEAL Foundation or by old friends like you, I can think of mainstreaming the community. Because, whenever we talk, I mean, for instance, I'm, in talks to, for instance, have a Status Single Summit, which is going to be Asia's first summit on, almost 78 million single women. And when I go to corporates, the line that I get is, are these women poor? Because, now women's empowerment has come under CSR. So all they want to do, and of course, rural underprivileged women need help. But, the help that urban single women need is help in terms of law. Deepika will be very vital. I want to listen to her because, guidance on financial investments, whatever little savings they have, how can they invest better, right? And also, generally HR help getting them back into the workflow. If there are older women who need to, upscale their technical skills, are there companies which are willing to help them upgrade themselves? These are qualified women, right? Also, when it comes to caregiving, Sony, it is a huge emotional burden. Alone, without any spouse or any emotional support, so to speak, other than friends and support groups, there are women. I mean, I have women in the community who are taking care of cancer, like advanced cancer patients, parents who are undergoing dialysis, children with cancer. They are single mothers whose only child has cancer, and right now the chemotherapy has stopped. So
Yeah.
obviously the symptoms are at full swing. So I think we need more conversations, even in the media, about uh, urban single women, because
Absolutely.
because
So
more and more, as we see marriages breaking down, as we see a lot of women even opt out of abusive marriages, a lot of women opting for same sex partnership, because now section 377 has been thankfully decriminalized. Differently abled women, we don't even look at them as women, we don't even consider them to have any needs.
it's like we are talking about a section of society which is invisible to everyone else. We are
Yeah,
all
and
lost.
yeah,
And
and someday, yeah, I blame, I was watching this series on, and I think it's Amazon Prime, called Four Shots, which has been produced by Pritish Nandi Communications. And I was seeing the portrayal of single women, basically that whole serial, it's like a rip-off of Sex and the City. So
yeah,
every episode, it's like semi-porn. So women are just jumping into bed with every single possible person. Which is, I'm not judging, but I'm saying show the reality of single women also, even if you're fictionalizing it. Show the struggles of a single mother. Show that differently abled women are also single because nobody wants to marry them. Show, transgender single women, trans women. So I think, we need to look at this diverse community. We need to mainstream conversations. And like I said, the learning that I'm getting on nutrition, on yoga, on, how to keep children occupied. And I look forward to listening to the other speakers. I think it'll be absolutely fabulous if we can do one session like this with members of my community, because the kind of learning, it's amazing.
yeah, thanks so much, Piyu. We'll certainly look at that, and I can promise that we will have a sessions on similar lines in the near future. And can I now move on to Deepika? Deepika is our finance expert, and she is going to tell us a very important, discuss a very important matter with us, which is money. My first question to you, Deepika, is my money safe in my investments? I have got money in SIPs here, I've got money in mutual funds there. So is my money safe?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me as a part of this conversation, Sony, and the HEAL Foundation. I think I've just heard some incredible inputs and insights from the rest of the women here. And I'm glad I'm following this up to Piyu's chat, because I have some things to, like she mentioned, and very valid points. So I think what money being safe, that's very subjective. Sony, with you, I know where your money is parked. So I can say, yeah, it is safe and it's all going to be all right. But just to establish context, I co-run a startup called Bases, which is hyper-focused on personal finance for women. And this is the reason we've built this platform is we realize much ahead that women are disproportionately affected by any situation. And I think a sounding example has been what has happened right now. In this situation of coronavirus, etc., we've never been more financially fragile. And everyone's worried, irrespective of where you're wealthy, you're middle class, you're lower class. Everybody's worried about one thing, and that is money. And like PU was saying, there are platforms for rural women. There's all of that happening, but nobody is talking to urban women. Nobody is talking to single women. Nobody is talking to homemakers. Nobody is talking to women who are sort of raising kids alone or going through a separation, etc., and telling them the right things about money. Much like, we have a nutritionist on the panel. So much like how for your health and diet needs, you need to go to a specialist. Likewise, for managing your money, you need to go to a specialist. It can't always be done by your father, brother, or male friend, just because you think they know more than anyone else. And I just want to share this number with you all. And I'm not making up this number. I'll probably share the image as well. So 80% of urban Indian women are not financially literate. That is women like us in this panel today. And surprisingly, 73% of urban Indian men are not financially literate either. So the gap between men and women in terms of financial literacy is not very large. And as women, we're naturally much better money managers, except that we don't put it into practice. We're managing our household budgets, we're doing all of that, but we're not really applying the same logic to managing our money. We're better risk managers, we're better generally in managing money. And it's very unfortunate. And again, I take it back to PU's points, even I was watching that show yesterday, and a lot of misogyny and a lot of misogynistic comments, and it's just assumed, hey, women, they just love to spend money, they love shopping, and it's quite stupid, because it's not something that applies to everyone. I can speak personally for myself. I'd rather save that money than buy another handbag. So I think we're assumed to be people which we are not. As women, we're also much better risk managers when it comes to money. And I think it has never been more important than now to talk about this topic. So Soni has been helping us for, I think, a year now or more than that, sharing stories of women doing amazing jobs at handling their money. And we've heard some incredible stories, some from, army wives, some stories from women who've made very, drastic life choices. And I think it's amazing. We can do incredible things if we put our mind to it, especially with money matters. And I think, again, traditionally, we just think, FDs are safe. My money is safe in an FD. And in the last month, we all saw what happened with Yes Bank. If anyone's in touch with the news, the returns on fixed deposits have gone down to 6%. 6% is nothing. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to help us fund that child's foreign education. It is not going to help you get to those travel goals even, which I know our travel is off the cards for a while now. But without spending any much more time, I know there are a couple of panelists left as well. So at Basis, we run a community of about 10,000 women. Again, this is urban women, Indian women from across the globe who talk about all things money. So when I'm saying money, it's not restricted to where should I invest? What should I do with that? It's even stuff like, I'm just going back into the workforce. I am getting this as an offer. I don't think I deserve this. I deserve this plus 20% more. How do I negotiate that salary with that particular employer? Or even things like, I'm not able to put a really solid resume together because although I have the experience, I don't know how to do it. So challenges are very different. And even with homemakers, we have several women saying, over the year, I managed to put X amount of money aside. What do I do with it? And for all those who don't know, the people who were most affected by demonetization were homemakers. All the money that our mothers and grandmothers and all of that aunts had put aside and, we keep it in the cupboards, it all came out at that point in time. And that was some amazing amounts of money. And I wish they were just put into the right places of investment. So I think, it's important that we use platforms such as Basis or even this conversation we're having today to talk about all things money and more. And I think it's also a good time while there are kids at home. It's a good time to also teach them life lessons when things are happening at home, when you're even going out to buying supplies and things like that, getting them involved in that decision making. that, we're going to buy this, it costs this much. Do you think it's really important for us to have it right now? Or even playing games like Monopoly or Business, which really help you learn basic stuff about money. And I think you don't have to have serious conversations about money with kids. It doesn't have to be complex. And I know as Indians, talking about money, first of all, is taboo. So teach them in a manner where they can learn simply through games and simple conversations. And yeah, I'll probably drop a link, or Sony will drop a link to Bases and the community. And for those interested, you can explore it further. But yeah, I think we're all women on this panel today, and I'm sure we're all in very different financial situations. And like Piyu said earlier, I think it's important that you start talking even about money, not just about, of course, mental well-being is a worry, but so is your financial well-being. And beyond a point, no one's going to help us. We have to help ourselves.
So true.
So
It's
I
all,
think, yeah.
Tony, can I make one point?
Yes, Piyu?
Just adding to what Deepika is saying, it is so critical, and I'm going to connect offline with Deepika because I think her community can gain so much from mine. And, we should also cross-pollinate now. This is what I'm feeling. Also, what she said, a lot of...
this is the entire idea behind this platform and this coming together, that we can all benefit so much from each other, learn from each other's experiences. But now we are running a little tight on schedule, so I'll move on to Renu now.
So what I wanted to say is that a lot of mental problems are because people are broke and they have no money. So that's important to understand, that mental health and financial stability is critical.
Absolutely.
That's what I just wanted to say.
Especially in these times where money is such a huge cause of anxiety. So coming to you, Renuji, now, we talked about ourselves so much. It's, I think, time that we also talk about our responsibility as citizens, as people who are honestly speaking, we are all in a very privileged position. So people like us, lockdown, no lockdown, has not really made a life and death difference. But I'm sure that in the marginalized communities, among the women that you are working with, your NGO is working with, what has the impact been of the lockdown? Renu, your mic is switched off. Your mic was on mute. Your mic is on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. To start with, I'd like to thank HEAL Foundation and Sony You to have brought us all together on the views that we are all collecting today. And well, each speaker has been awesome. They've been amazing and have given us a lot of food for thought. Well, I belong to an organization called Seroptimist International, which is a 99-year-old organization. And we work for educating, empowering, and enabling women. And they're all from the marginalized communities. So here I'd like to tell you the impact which the lockdown is having on these women. I have personally spoken to a number of underprivileged women, including my own domestic help. And they assured me that, like the government has reaching out to them with a lot of schemes. And they said that they are getting them all, but barring a few aberrations. And well, in lockdown is proving economically devastating at the moment, because only the domestic help basically are being paid. Their husbands are daily wage earners, so there's no money for them. And women are still continuing to carry their primary responsibility of purchasing food, cooking, washing, cleaning, and paying off all the household expenditures. So again, the burden is there on the women itself. And then what happens? Due to the strictly enforced lockdown, boredom has set in them. They've told me on the phone, ki, Auntie, ab hum bahut bore ho gaye hain. क्या करें, घर में भी टीवी देख के तंग आ गए हैं, कुछ समझ नहीं आता, एक ही कमरे में हम लोग सब फंसे हुए हैं. So we should, I mean, it's so tough on them. Like they said, हम आज से कभी छुट्टी नहीं मांगेंगे. They've reached a stage where they don't even look forward to any holidays for themselves or asking for leave because they are so bored. And in some households, men are taking out their frustrations by physically and verbally abusing them. And under the present circumstances, the domestic violence has increased, but reporting is obviously decreased because the perpetrators are at home and they can't get in touch with anybody. So for them, it's a really very sad scenario. And in a way that for as my club, again, because of the lockdown, we're not being able to reach out to our people, and our projects have come to a standstill, which are all basically women and girl based. So what we have done is, in our own little way, our members and the club together have gathered funds, and we supporting the migrant construction men, construction workers, their families and their children. So we've given this little financial help, and for which they get a kit with some food items and some basic toiletries. And hopefully by 20th April, once the lockdown is partially lifted, as the Prime Minister has announced it on the TV, we have a project in the village where the rural women are making biodegradable sanitary napkins for us. So we're looking forward to restarting it, because it's something that we would have wanted it to be distributed to all the girls and all to the families who really can't reach out to get sanitary napkins for themselves. But since that village is about 2 hours from here, we are quite helpless, and we are waiting for this lockdown to be lifted. And we have another project where we call it Binding Stitches, where we teaching women to stitch. So at the moment, what our members are doing is we are stitching masks at home, and they are so hopefully we should be giving it to people, to the needy people. We plan to distribute them to the needy people. And sometimes in another 10 days time, we are planning to have a webinar on mental health and wellness. So that is our main agenda at the moment. And so, I mean, it is bad times. Like we, all the women of the, like us, we still can make things at home, take care of our children, advise them, take care of the food. And that you have money at home, you can take care of it, but it's really hard for these people. So it's bad times, definitely.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bhardwaj. Moving on from giving back to the community, you are such a treasure trove of practical information about how to manage homes efficiently even in normal times. So please, would you like to share some interesting or easy to do tips with us on how we can avoid waste in these times?
Yeah, okay. So see, one of the main instructions which has been issued by the government is that we should limit our trips to the shops and for food supplies as far as possible. Well, what has happened is this has led to many people just stock up food. So is there any reason to buy more than what you can consume? So what's happening is you bought so much, you're not consuming it, especially the vegetables and fruit, it's going waste. And we tend to just throw it away once it's rotten. So what I suggest is, if you have some surplus fruit or vegetables, I mean, you can easily share it with your neighbors or with any of your workers around. Like if you're living in a society, maybe your watchmen, your caretakers. So there are ways of sharing it instead of just throwing it away. And the societies that we live in, they need to facilitate purchases of food items at a central point given in the society, whatever days they choose to, so that life becomes a little more better and a little more organized. And I feel all households today have a role to play in cutting down on food waste. We need to creatively use up all our leftovers and storing it safely. So what I feel is, what I do is make a meal plan for the entire week. Okay. And bring out your old cookery books. I know these days everybody goes online and onto, getting all the recipes. So I feel you should bring up all your old cookery books, revive those old recipes which have, somewhere vanished, and everybody's on to new things, and then base your cooking on the ingredients that you have at home. Then all the extra food which you feel you made and you don't want to really give it away, you could freeze it. And when you freeze it, you label it and put a date also. Put the name of the whatever you freezing, and what is the date, the day you frozen, because I'm sure you don't want to carry on keeping that dish in the fridge for 2 to 3 months. And secondly, if you have some frozen food in the fridge, the day you don't feel like cooking, maybe you could just pull out one dish of yours and put it up on the table. And if possible, just to not waste food, if we could go in for a one meal dish, so that you tend to save on your vegetables, all your dals. You don't have to have those lavish meals as you used to have them earlier.
You save on fuel also, because
exactly,
less gas, and you don't have to worry about that, another aspect. True.
Then it is challenging how to keep your food fresh. And I'll just give you a few simple tips. Store your potatoes in a cloth bag, and it should never be next to the onions, because the onions tend to give that moisture which helps in rotting the potatoes. So put them in a bag and save it that way. Then you can freeze all your chopped vegetables, or some of the vegetables you could fry and then freeze them, so that life is a little more simpler. And again, label those packets. So I think these are the basic simple methods that we can do. And to sum it all, I'll just say a few, just want to say something, that life has reverted to a certain way where we can appreciate each other much more. We have started to appreciate and value every small things that we always took for granted. So we need to appreciate whatever we have been given. And I'm sure because of these trying times, we'll be able to, it's a learning point for us also to save food, minimize our needs and greeds.
Yeah, very true. In fact, this is something which I have also realized, is that we can get by in so little. We can get by in so little. It's just that we become such a consumerist and consumption-oriented society that enjoyment equals eating out. So we've forgotten that you can also enjoy just sitting home and playing Ludo or Scrabble or something at home. So thank you.
Like I'm pulling out all old recipe books and cooking those things. My husband is delighted. He said, "My God, where were these dishes?"
Thank you so much, Renuji. Wonderful speaking with you. And Monica, I am sure that your artwork is ready for us to see now.
Yeah, definitely. I am going to show it like this. I hope this is visible.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's
oh wow!
About it.
I would like to describe it. This is Tree of Life. I was told to paint it for somebody, and then I discovered about it. First of all, it is mentioned almost in all the religions. This is the most wonderful part of it, but in different forms. Like if I speak about Hinduism, they say that the Tree of Life is basically, we are here. What we see our life is the reflection of our true self. It is not our true self, just a reflection. I depicted this person looking here thinking that this is his real self, but actually every person is very divine. It is just that to get some experiences, we face all the problems and all, and we start thinking it is real. For example, I describe it as if I am acting in a movie and I start taking that very seriously, that I'm not that actor, but actually I'm living that life. So can you imagine, for example, Shah Rukh Khan in Dar, he starts thinking himself as that character, how miserable his life will be. So even in these times, what I feel is we are looking at it by engrossing too much into it. If we just take a step back, look at the situation, what it is trying to teach us, it is going to make it much more simpler and calmer for us. I mean, if you see it in any point of things, we are seeing a wonderful family time once again. As Mrs. Bhadwaj mentioned, we are digging up old recipes. We are reaching out to people. Suddenly, you'll see people are going out and helping others. The environment has become so beautiful. Just we need to change the perspective of how we are looking at things. Of course, as everybody is talking and I respect everybody's opinion, I think situation is same for all people. But even in the poorest of poor, there will be people who will be taking it more positively compared to somebody at his own level. Even in the urban, like we all may say that we are all comfortable, we have nothing to lose, we are, we have the money and all, but still there will be people who will find some reason to be unhappy. But in the same situation, another person will think, let me focus on enhancing myself. So as an artist, I can tell you, art is a very big opportunity to look inwards. It really takes away our mind from a lot of things which are not important. I'm not talking about very important things about like finance, sorry, but we sometimes get worried about things which are not important. Then art comes, plays a role. It just takes your focus on little things. Like I see there was somebody mentioning that she is overwhelmed because a lot of people keeping their house so clean, and they are showing off that I'm finally cleaning my house. Not, but the thing is, this is what not we are born to do, to clean up the house and impress everybody. Why not use it? Nobody's coming and visiting our house, so why not focus on doing something which makes us happy? That cleaning can always be done by some help that was going to come in, and of course it has helped us in respecting our help so much. How we are missing our maids. Suddenly we realize that they are so important in our life, we cannot run without them. So I don't know, maybe I'm a positive person by nature. I believe in looking at the positive side of everything, and if not positive, even if it's a difficult time, we need to enhance ourselves so that we are able to come out. So this tree of life is basically telling that you are here, the divine self. This is just the thing that you are perceiving about yourself.
How beautiful. How beautiful, Monica. Thank you so much. And that in a way symbolizes our webinar today also, that we may think that we are in a very negative environment, negative situation, but the reality is that we have to look within, reach within, find the Shakti within ourselves and overcome this situation, because there is nothing that a human being who puts his mind to it cannot achieve. This is a truism which we have seen down the ages in all our fiction, in all our epics, in all our religious texts, that there is nothing that a human being cannot achieve if he puts his mind to it. Do we have Dr. Bhavna with us? Can you hear me, Dr. Bhavna? I can't hear anyone. I think that. Can you hear me? Chavi, can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Dr. Bhavna, welcome. I will quickly introduce Dr. Bhavna to everybody that Dr. Bhavna is the co-founder of PsyCare and a senior clinical psychologist at this. And one very quick question for you. She has been able to join us a little late, but there is one question for you which came from Divya Thakur. And her question was that our sleeping patterns have been disturbed. Everybody's sleeping patterns have been disturbed in this lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little about why that has happened?
Yes. A very warm good evening to everybody, and especially to all my women who are actually the strength of the nation, of the world at this point of time. What I really want to say is that I understand and empathize with each one of us here that yes, it is a challenging phase. And one of the things that goes away in this challenging phase is our sleep-wake cycle. So it is very understandable that not only you, but a lot of us are experiencing this. 2-3 things that I will suggest. One, I really want you to maintain the time of your sleep as it used to be in the past. Even if sleep doesn't come to you, do certain things prior. So certain things prior means a sleep hygiene program. That means if you were originally sleeping at about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, just half an hour prior to that, what you can do is you can take a warm water shower. Secondly, soak your feet in a tub of water with rock salt. You can add any beautiful aroma oil to make yourself feel better. Thirdly, massage your feet from the heel to. Fourthly, take a glass of warm sweetened milk. Fifthly, do some deep breathing exercises where along with your breath, you can take in something positive for your own self, which is like an affirmation. And with those thoughts, just rest it out and gradually sleep will come. Secondly, get up at the same time that you were. Even if you slept in the early hours of the morning, if you're able to get up at a time which was, suppose you were getting up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, eventually you will see day 1, day 2, day 3, by the 4th day, just following this simple ritual before you go to sleep and getting up in the morning at the same time will enable you to restore sleep even in this challenging phase.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. There was a question for Monica, which was, one was how to join your workshop, and the second one was from Soumya. Soumya wanted to know that those who don't know painting or drawing, can they still paint and draw and get some benefit out of it?
First of all, I'll come back to this. We are divine. I feel God has created us just to show off how, great He is. Okay, we are not normal beings. Just think that whenever you start painting, everybody is a born artist. You must be painting as a child, which you must have forgotten when you grew up. It is not possible. We are born as artists, as singers and dancers, and as we grow, because of social conditioning or something, we forget these characters. So the first thing is this: I guarantee I can make anybody paint. There is nothing like not knowing art. It is inside us. It's like love. It's there inside us. And secondly, this lockdown gave me an opportunity to teach art through WhatsApp, which I'd never imagined before. So anybody who wants to learn art can contact me on my Facebook page, and then we can share art workshops on WhatsApp. It's quite simple. Soni has been a part of it, and she can tell it's not difficult at all. It's quite understanding. Like
enjoyable. It's very enjoyable, and you make it seem very easy. It's fantastic.
Soni, I would just like to pitch in that there are a lot of mudras that we can be doing it with our hand that can actually help you work on your respiratory system, on your immunity, and like what you were just asking Dr. Bhavna, there are mudras to actually induce sleep. So those mudras, we can, because asanas are a little difficult for me to showcase as of now, but yes, mudras we can work on.
Yeah.
So they're just, mudras of your hands, yoga of your hands. So one thing is Shankh Mudra, which actually helps you, have a very strong respiratory system. So this is like something like this, a little complicated. Your left thumb, you grip it with your right hand, thumb over the thumb, and then the right hand takes shape like this. So it's Shankh Mudra. This helps you create a better respiratory system. And to build up your immunity is this Apan Vayu Mudra, Udan Vayu Mudra. Just feather touch, just feather touch. These three fingers, the little finger is out extended, and the tip of these three fingers are, touching, a feather touch with the tip of your thumb. So this is to build up your immunity. And trust me, mudras are very, very powerful, sometimes more powerful than the asanas also. So this is for your immunity.
You just, Ritu, you just do the mudra and you can just do, your hands can be anywhere, or do they have to be in a particular position? While
there is no posture needed anywhere. You can sleep like this. There is no meal gap needed. And you can sleep like this. When it opens, fine. So we have mudras for every issue, which I am, always kind of showcasing on my Facebook page or on in my classes.
So Ritu, can you show us the sleep mudra also, please?
The sleep mudra is a little complicated, so I thought it will get a little tough. It's like this, and then you form it like this.
Okay.
So if you can tell me some way, I can make a video and post it.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll anybody who's interested can also go to your Facebook page, which is Yog Ritu, and look at the videos over there. Yeah. And there was another question. It's not really a question. It was a comment by Shahnawaz Ahmad Ansari, which I thought I should share with all the women here. He raised a very valid point of why all the responsibilities of the household fall on the woman, while the husband and the kids restrict themselves to their own rooms and keep asking for room service. Why does everything have to fall on the woman? Would anybody like to take that?
I don't mind starting with that.
Okay.
One of the things is that I, as a human being before a man or a woman, need to understand that what is the role and responsibility I want to shoulder, and what is it I want to shoulder with pleasure. So suppose this is giving me pleasure, no problem. But if it is bringing discomfort, then I think I need to use the second channel of communication. That at this point of time, this is the delegation that I want to bring across to my family. And the family is somebody I love, and I understand the family is somebody who loves me as well. So out of this fantastic bond, start on a positive note by already giving them the affirmation that it is a bond of love. So I am giving, so you give back to me in love, and this is what I seek of you as support. And make a constructive schedule where you can actually have either self-nominated responsibilities by other family members, or even if you're the spine of the family, you can delegate. And please don't feel guilty about delegating. It is a part of the family dynamics that you also are entitled to. A lot of times we just take on a lot of responsibilities, which we may not need to, and which we can also share. So feel very, very comfortable with this aspect of being able to share your thoughts, your feelings, as well as your responsibilities.
Thank you so much. And there was a question from Vibha Krishna. She wanted to know how to maintain nutrition in our diet. This was from Manjari. Is Manjari with us?
No.
Manjari, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you said the question was how to maintain your nutritional status here.
In these times.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, there's a lot that has been said about nutrition and about micronutrients. There are too many studies being done. The thing is that our food that we eat at home, most of the time made of locally available fruits, vegetables, millets, lentils, is completely nutritious in its way. As long as the food is cooked well, as long as the food does not contain too much levels of sugar or salt in it, as long as the food retains its innate nutrition. Because we overcook food, because we mix too many things together, because we complicate, because we add unnecessary, unhealthy fats, food becomes non-nutritious. So it's easy to maintain your nutrition if you eat a good mix of locally available millets, lentils, a little bit of nuts and seeds, some fruits and vegetables that you can get your hand on, and whatever herbs and spices you can get hold of. In fact, because we know that we are in a lockdown because of a certain viral condition, the pandemic that's going on, there is a lot of talk of veganism. The fact that this is a zoonotic virus, and the fact that the virus originated from an animal, and the initial transfer happened from animals to humans, we know that there is some amount of association in the animal human ecosystems which is not working at the way it should be working. And that is why there'll be a lot of choice of veganism. So a lot of people think when you're vegetarian or vegan, you would not get enough protein, or you'd not get enough vitamins and minerals, which is completely a fallacy. If your systems are working well, if your gut is absorbing nutrition properly, if you do not have inflammation or insulin resistance, then food that you make at home, which is a little bit of millets, lentils, beans, some fruits and vegetables, some herbs and spices, is mostly complete nutrition in itself. So nutrition is also to do with how well your body is absorbing. And if you have malabsorption, the best food may not be helpful, So it's really to stick with what is around and to keep yourself in the best space of health so that you can absorb the nutrition.
Thank you so much, Manjari. That was a wonderful answer. And I have one more time for just one more question. So I'm just looking which question. We have so many of them. Thank you all so much for the questions. I'll try and get them answered by the speakers even after the webinar is over. But there is one question for Shagun here. An anonymous attendee is asking, children are unable to play outdoor sports, which are essential part of their daily life. So what is the
fan of it? Because whatever I can achieve with this, I can achieve with ozone or with high-dose vitamin C. And therefore...
Hello?
Yes, Shagun?
Sorry, I think there was a cross connection, yeah?
Yes, I was surprised what happened to your voice.
I think it was the third person sitting somewhere got connected.
Yes. So the question...
Okay, so it's yeah. Could you repeat that question, because there was a technical...
Yeah, the question was that children are unable to play outdoor sports, which is an essential part of their daily life. So what is the alternative? They have so much energy. I see it with my daughter. She's full of energy, and I just don't want her to plonk herself in front of the laptop or play on the phone all the time or watch TV. So what do we do with her?
Well, that's one of the most important questions for children in the lockdown. So I'm going to share with you what I've feasibly found when I've been speaking to mothers for my articles, what people are following and what's helped them, and what I personally am following also. The family bonding time increases with pranayam together. And a lot of people who were lazy in the house earlier, since it's lockdown and everybody is together, so definitely involve your kids for pranayam with you. As Roxab also mentioned about so many healthy habits like soaking your feet at night, for good sleep and having milk, So one of the starting activities, fitness of the days could be pranayam with your family together. After that, what is very easy is in your indoor house spaces, what we could do is, like, for example, if your child is fond of tennis, I would give you an example. Then you can just maybe use your own creativity to create the fitness levels. Then you could actually hang a rope somewhere and fix a ball with it, and you just twist the rope around, fix the ball in it, and put a loop in it, and it's hanging somewhere, maybe in your corridor or wherever in your house space. And once there are these old timer games which you used to have. If you Google them, you'll see them. You can just hit a tennis racket and just loop it on. So you're just practicing your tennis moves even inside your house, because the ball is swinging on the rope. So I hope I'm able to kind of give a valid imagery of what I'm trying to speak. So that is tennis. Suppose if you like your, for example, your football. So I'm sure, you can have a two-way shot football with your mom, or you try your kicks with your dad, just like get your kid and get one parent involved. Like I do that with my son. He likes to make his kick perfect. So 15 minutes of that kicking also and aiming, it's a very good fitness exercise. What I do is I put there's a plank, and there's anything, a steel rod, anything that you have in your house, or maybe just try and get some kind of a roddy structure and just raise it and get two people to hold it and ask the kids to jump up and down, go forward and backward, forward and backward. So, when it comes to fitness, so many exercises can be created which could be fun, but of course you do not expect your child to do them in isolation. That is like, again, that comes back to psyche of just 30 minutes go do exercise. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a collective effort of the family. So you could create it. Another very nice suggestion for indoor games is, one of the very famous athletes has done this with his son. Maybe you could just keep a lot of empty whatever juice cans or Coke cans or whatever you have in your house, keep them at a gap distance in your space. So maybe about 8 cans at a distance of say about half a meter each. And then if the child can just twist and turn around the cans and just go to the end of the tip, and whoever wins the race. So whatever amount of space is possible in the house, as per everybody's own personal circumstances, you can create any level of fitness even in a 1 meter gap distance. But the intention should be that the child has to work out.
Yes,
if the intention is there, then definitely you don't need your cricket grounds, you don't need the outdoors. Even for the next few months, you can still come out as a super healthy soul after the 1 month of this lockdown is over.
You know what, Shagun, I like to add up here. I have so many youth in my classes. They are the ones who are actually roping in their parents or their grandparents, because like you said, you don't need a lot of space. Yes, for pranayam you don't need, but then it builds you up so much beautifully inside that it manifests outside. And now we are also doing so much intense asanas for them, such intense movements for them, that they are loving it. So that is one very positive thing which I feel is an outcome of this COVID-19.
Yes, even the wheels.
You are actually doing your asanas and your pranayams. So what we were taught is that you are supposed to do it with as much sincerity and dedication as you're offering prayers, that kind of intent. So what does yoga teach us? It teaches us to be in sync with the universe. So this COVID is giving us a learning. Somewhere, maybe we are not in sync.
There is time for just one more last question, and this I will move to Deepika. Deepika, this is from Bhavna Vij, and she wants to know, is 40 too late to start saving? Deepika, are you there?
Yeah, yes. So
how to take out some part from your salary to save? It always seems that you don't have enough to spare.
So, Bhavna, I think, this is, in fact, I was talking to somebody earlier today and it was a similar question. And I think you're never going to have enough to save. I think it applies to everyone. We always think we don't have enough to save. I think the whole idea is just enforcing some amount on yourself. So, and there are all these formulas, where people are like, hey, save 40% of your salary, save 50% of your salary, etc., etc. So I'm not going to throw one of those at you. I would say just start saving a small amount. It could be even like a 2,000 rupees recurring deposit if you want to start, or, a 2,000 rupees SIP into a mutual fund. Just start an amount that you are comfortable with. I think investing is very much like exercising, until you don't put that muscle into action, you don't know that it works. So start with that small amount, whatever, a basic amount. And after a couple of months, it will just become your natural your natural intention to increase it. When you see that 2,000 rupees grow to a certain amount, you will automatically want to increase it to a 5,000, 8,000, whatever is comfortable for you. And I know it's always recommended you start saving early, etc., because of the basic logic of compounding. I think especially now, a lot of moms sitting at home probably teaching your children about compounding. I think it's important that you start applying it to your money as well. 42 is not too late. I think there is no age too late. And I know even in this current given circumstance, in the morning I was in another webinar, people were asking me, hey, should I buy more now? Should I invest more now? I would say just start with an amount you're comfortable with, irrespective of your age. There is no age too late to start saving. And I would just give you a quick tip and end it at that. Say your salary comes in on the 3rd of the month or 5th of the month, try and schedule that investment to go out from your bank account in the next 2 days. So just give it a buffer of 2-3 days. So that way you don't have an excuse that I don't have money left at the end of the month. You don't have to wait for the end of the month to do it. Your landlord or perhaps, your bills don't wait till the end of the month. Your investment should not wait for that period either.
Great. Thanks, Deepika. Now, absolutely final question, but this is for Dr. Bhavna because I've got 3 questions for you. And one is, I'll request that if you could just answer them very short.
Sure.
So first question, I'll put all the questions to you together. One is how to handle children whose exams have been postponed because they're feeling lost and disoriented. This is from Nishi Kakkar. Then the second question is from Garima Chaudhary, who's saying that I have a lot of mood swings these days because of monotonous lifestyle. What can I do to fix it? And the third question is from an attendee, and they wanted to know how to live with depression in the lockdown. I know these are very, very big issues, but I'll request if you could answer them very briefly, please.
See, let me come quickly to the first question. Exams have got postponed. So what needs to be recognized is that there are certain things that are beyond our control. And one of the things that is beyond our control is that the exams have got postponed. So I don't think we should try and bring that into our control. But what we can do is we can make a constructive thought process around what is in our control. So what is in our control is anyways, what had we decided to do for the exam, so we can keep that into the preparatory phase. Secondly, what had we decided to do even after the exams? So after the exams, if we had thought that we're going to get into some activity, some training, some other forms of academic learning, you can bring that into yourself even through online forums. So what is that? Second is, yes, question, mood swings are very, very pertinent whenever stress is high. And they get impacted, or we can actually bring them down by again having a psychological constructive schedule for ourselves. So in that, one of the things that we must keep is our own personal time from all the time we keep for our work and for our family. And in our personal time, especially for a woman, please do some of the things that you enjoy doing. Because most of the times you spend time in doing things that others or you want others to enjoy. So keep this time, and especially for your mood swings, one sure shot way of building up endorphins, which is a mood stabilizer, a happy hormone in ourselves, is any form of physical exercise, indoor as well as outdoor. In fact, yoga and a lot of exercises that we've mentioned in this forum can be inculcated. Surya Namaskar, yogic exercises, pranayams, leading into meditation, mindfulness are very, very beautiful. Inculcate a hobby for yourself, something that you wanted to do in the past, never got an opportunity to do. Take this as that time zone. Sleep well, eat well, look after yourself, and enjoy the pleasures of bonding. So incorporate a lot of these things, and this also somewhere brings us to how we can handle depression much better. Let us be aware of or be with what is happening, because happening has the word hap in it, which is HAPP, which actually leads us into just 1 minute, which leads us into happiness. Hello.
Okay, I'll take this opportunity to thank everybody. I know there's so much more we can talk about, but we've already exceeded our time limit by almost, I don't know how much, but I was having so much fun listening to everybody. And honestly speaking, in this past 1 month, today was the first day that I put kajal, I put lipstick, I dressed up. So I felt so good. And I just want to thank HEAL Foundation once again for giving us this super opportunity of coming together. Although we may not be, like I had said in the beginning also, that physically we are apart, but virtually we are all so close together now, so much more close together now than we were earlier, that let's use this opportunity, use this as a time to just reconnect with ourselves, reach deep within our own souls, our own reserves of energy, of Shakti. Women are not called Shakti for nothing. We are Shakti, and we can defeat this new age demon. And all we need is to know that we are all in this together, and we shall overcome all of this together. Thank you all once again for joining us, and a big thank you to all the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.